Do you feel like your aim is either too shaky or way too slow? You adjusted your sensitivity, jumped into a match, and suddenly your aim feels worse than before. One game you're overflicking everything, the next you can keep up with fast enemies. So the question is, should you use a low sensitivity or high sensitivity? And more importantly, how do you know which one actually fits your playstyle? Copying other people's sensitivity is fine, but I highly recommend finding the sensitivity that's right for you. We all use different devices, have different hand sizes, and different playstyles. So what works for other players might not work for you. Before we start adjusting anything, let's go over the basic sensitivity settings first. For sensitivity switching, I set mine to switch to ADS. There are two different aiming modes in the game. The first one is hip firing and the second one is aiming down sights or ADS. I set my sensitivity switching to switch to ADS, so when I aim down sights, the game automatically uses my ADS sensitivity. The switch is instant, there's no delay. The no ADS steering sensitivity controls your hipfire sensitivity, while the rest of the sensitivity settings apply specifically to ADS. Next is the sensitivity acceleration mode, and this is where most players get confused. A lot of streamers and content creators share the sensitivity settings, but they usually don't mention which acceleration mode they are using, whether it's fixed speed, distance boost, or speed boost. And this part matters a lot because even if you copy the exact sensitivity numbers, your aim can still feel completely different if your acceleration mode isn't the same. Let's start with fixed speed. With fixed speed, your sensitivity stays the same no matter how fast or slow you move your finger. So if you put a value of 100 on your no ADS steering, your camera rotation will always be consistent. Slow swipes and fast swipes will move your aim the same distance relative to your input. The advantage of fixed speed is its consistency. So it's very useful for beginners because you can build muscle memory much faster. Next is distance boost. The sensitivity acceleration by swipe length. The farther you swipe, the faster your aim moves. It has the perfect balance of speed and precision. Short swipes for precision and longer swipes for faster turns. Speed boost is a sensitivity acceleration by swipe speed. The faster you swipe, the faster your aim moves. As you can see, you can adjust the speed boost value in both distance boost and speed boost acceleration. So even if your base sensitivity is set a bit lower, your aim and movement can still feel very fast if you set a higher boost value. Next, I'll explain how I personally set my sensitivity. By the way, I turn off the advanced settings and global sensitivity sync. Turning on advanced settings lets you adjust your X and Y axis sensitivity separately, but I prefer having them off for consistency. Global sensitivity sync, on the other hand, makes all of your sensitivity values identical. I turn this off so I can adjust all of my sensitivity independently. Before adjusting any sensitivity values, decide first the sensitivity mode you're going to use. In my case, I chose fixed speed because it gives me consistency. I'm not really a fan of swiping too much, so I don't use distance boost. And I also don't want to mess up my aim in intense fights by swiping too fast, which is why I avoid speed boost. Next, ask yourself, are you going to be using the gyroscope? This is important because whether you use gyro or not affects how you set your swipe sensitivity. In my personal experience, it's better to decide which one you want to rely on more, swipe sensitivity or gyroscope sensitivity. I used to be a non-gyro player and played on a high sensitivity. When I transitioned to gyro, I didn't adjust my sensitivity at all, and because of that, I kept over-aiming and my movement became really messy. I'm more dependent on gyro, so I set my swipe sensitivity a bit lower, just enough to support my gyro sensitivity. Now, let's start with the swipe sensitivity. Even though I'm using gyro, I still set my no ADS steering slightly high because I want to be able to perform a full 180-degree backslide even when I'm just swiping. Before I start adjusting the rest of my swipe sensitivity, I set my gyro sensitivity first, both the camera and firing sensitivity. Since I only use the swipe sensitivity as support, I set my dead zone size to 100. Remember, the smaller the dead zone value, the more sensitive the gyro becomes. That means even very small hand movements or intentional shaking will trigger gyro input, which can easily ruin your aim if you can control it properly. You have probably noticed some players using very low gyro sensitivity numbers, but their aim still feels extremely fast. A big reason for that could be their dead zone size. They have likely set it much lower than normal, making the gyro react instantly. I set mine to 100 because I noticed that my device lags frequently whenever I use a lower value. Just like in choosing your acceleration mode, setting the dead zone size should come first before adjusting any other gyro sensitivity values. So let's start with the no ADS steering for the camera gyro sensitivity. To find the right value, I try to perform a 180-degree backslide using gyro only, no swiping. I also trace the lines in the walls and track moving targets. If it feels too slow or too fast, I keep adjusting the value by adding or subtracting 5 until I find my comfort zone. For the iron sights, the method is pretty much the same. I set the bots to move and track them while ADS. You can apply the same process to the other camera gyro sensitivities as well. Next, let's move on to the firing sensitivity. For no ADS steering, I track the bots while firing. I also trace the lines on the walls while shooting, and I also try to fire while slide jumping around these targets and see if I can track them well. This helps me check if my gyro stays controllable even during movement. If it feels too slow, I add 5. If it feels too fast, I subtract 5. And for finer adjustments, I sometimes add or minus 3 instead. For the other firing sensitivities, I use the same method, but this time I do it while I ADS. Once I'm done adjusting my gyro sensitivity, that's when I move on to adjusting my swipe sensitivity. Like I mentioned earlier, my swipe sensitivity is mainly for support. For the camera swipe sensitivity, I focus on target switching. And I also make sure I can flick to a target using a swipe that covers around a 90-degree angle. One way I visualize this is by imagining an L shape, one enemy directly in front of me and the other one to my right or left. I practice switching my aim between these two targets using swipe input. For the firing swipe sensitivity, I only use this for support or when making minor adjustments. I don't want my swipe sens to overpower my gyro. While testing this, I track bots as I fire and pay attention to how my aim behaves during recoil and tracking. If my swipe sensitivity is too high, it starts fighting my gyro and makes my aim feel unstable. If it's too low, it doesn't help at all when I need to make small corrections. So I adjust the value little by little until my swipe input feels natural, just enough to assist my gyro without disrupting it. At the end of the day, there's no such thing as a perfect sensitivity, only the one that works best for you. So don't rush the process, take time in the shooting range, make small adjustments, and let consistency do the work. Did you find any of these tips helpful? Comment down your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace!